So,
Okay.
all right. So, welcome to the New Jersey Student Climate Challenge info session. So, I am Rosalie Morillo. I am the program manager for Sustainable Jersey. I work specifically with the climate challenge, the climate education, implementation into the classroom and supporting teachers in that way. And I also work with the digital schools program. Well, hi, Luis. Just in time. So, previously I was an educator for 13 years. I was an English teacher in Perth Amboy, so it's like very similar to the demographic of Jersey City. You said you're from Jersey City, correct? And Luis, where are you from? When you get some audio, you let me know.
Yeah, we both are from Jersey City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
Jersey City.
great, great. So,
Yeah,
yes, go ahead. Great. So, basically today, what I'm going to be reviewing with you both will be just reviewing the climate challenge, what the submission and evaluation rubric looks like, highlights and resources that are available for teachers and students, and then any additional questions. I do have some videos of like the previous winners and just comments from previous students that were participating in the climate challenge. So this year, the climate challenge, and just similar to previous years, it's a free program for students in grades 6 through 12. Teachers need to register their students for the club to participate, even though that this is a student-led project. And under the teacher mentorship, teams of 2 to 12 students will complete a school or community project that addresses the causes or impact of climate change. So each team creates a digital story about their project, and they have to complete the challenge and submit it with using the submission form, submit to us by April 9th. So first, second, and third place winners for middle school and high school, they are separate categories. So high school students will not be competing against middle school students, but they are all recognized at an awards ceremony that is hosted by First Lady Tammy Murphy, which will typically happen around June. So winners this year will receive grants to advance their climate change education initiatives ranging from $2,500 to $500. If you have any questions in between of anything I'm saying, feel free to kind of just, you could speak up and unmute yourself and we can discuss it as well.
You're going to share this slides with us, right?
Yes, I will be sending this recording to everyone that registered. Okay. So why the challenge? So why should students participate in this challenge? So education is the most important tool. I don't think anyone on this webinar could disagree with that, right? And it's a critical force in preparing the next generation to address climate change because they will be inheriting this world. So project-based learning really engages students in meaningful and learning experiences. So this climate challenge is one of those aspects of where we see students really get empowered. So really thinking towards solution-based approaches to empower students rather than causing climate anxiety. While we see a lot of students are having a lot more concerns about the climate, and it really attributes to more students having climate anxiety. So we really want to steer them towards being part of the solution. So, and then we want kids to be able to connect with these units of studies and club activities. And we really try to support teachers and the new and using this program to help them align to the climate change education standards, which all grade levels and subject areas should be implementing based off of the Department of Education. So when we think about eligible projects, like what should these projects look like? We want to really think about how students can be impacting their schools or their communities directly, right? To make things relevant for students, it has to impact them directly and to see impacts in their own world. So, but these projects also need to have a tangible outcome. So the students have to really be doing things. So whether it's a physical change in their environment, maybe the reduction in climate change causing factor, maybe increasing their awareness of climate change or the need for behavioral change within their school and community. Maybe they do some kind of campaign, right? So it has to be something that they're actually doing, some action-based project. So whether it's civil engagement and advocacy, some students have addressed city council members or went to the mayor to kind of petition for things. But also maybe doing some type of funding or research proposals. Maybe students want to apply for a grant that will provide more trees within their community, and they will make that connection of how trees help with climate change and carbon sequestration. So to kind of get a little bit more into that, we can think about the most important thing about this project, besides it being actionable, is the fact that it's making direct connections to climate change. Like, students need to really understand that the action that they are taking is connected to whether it's mitigating or providing an adaptation for the negative impacts of climate change, to kind of mitigate that. So we think about what are the human activities or the causes that work towards increasing the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmospheres. And then we can think about how can the action that they are committing is mitigating that. So the greenhouse gases contribute to climate change, which causes negative impacts. So they can think about mitigation or adaptation. So a better way of looking at this, we can think about human activities, whether it's fossil fuel, the use of energy and heat, which is a human activity, it's a cause. And then any type of mitigation strategies. Maybe their project kind of works towards how they can increase energy efficiency or energy conservation or promote renewable energy sources. Maybe they want to talk a little bit about fossil fuel use or transportation, and thinking about campaigning about driving less or using efficient vehicles or anti-idling efforts or buying or eating or buying local for campaigns. Deforestation, tree and native planting, increasing recycled paper usage, agriculture production, food waste is one of those things they can think about. So they have to be making those connections. So what are the actions that humans are making that are causing climate change? And here is the action that we are working towards to mitigate these human causes and causes of climate change. And then we can also think about different impacts, like climate change impacts, whether it's severe weather and heavy rain. What adaptation strategies can we use? Maybe they want to plant a rain garden or increase green surfaces and infrastructure. Maybe to kind of adapt to the frequent increased flooding, stabilize riverbanks or wetland habitats or native plants. So any of these kind of connections or project, any of these connections to their projects are really important, that students are understanding, here are the causes. This is our project that is either going to mitigate the issues of climate change or create an adaptation to kind of address those impacts. Do you have any questions so far? Yes.
Not yet.
Okay, great. All right, so one thing that you might want to really encourage your students to do is to really think about the nonprofit organizations or the organizations that are within the community. So you can think about municipal boards and commissions, maybe other nonprofits. They have state agencies like DEP or BPU. I think in Jersey City, there is like a sustainability hub, I believe, that maybe students can kind of consider to look into. Green teams, any colleges or university, Jersey City. I think there's a university in Jersey City, correct? I think it's yes?
I think it is, yeah, it is running under I think the city councils. I think it is under the city.
Right. So, or any just residences or businesses that might be willing to kind of collaborate on these efforts. So it'd be really great for students to kind of just do some research and be like, okay, this is the project that we want to work on. What are some organizations in the area that might already be doing some of these things that can support us? And a lot of times our organization really commends those type of collaborations, right? Because students are then not only getting really involved in the community, but they're making their efforts real. So some of the things, some of the projects that can also be implemented within our organization is we have these new actions that many students have used to implement their projects. So one of the actions that we have is a campaign to reduce food waste. And within this action, if you go onto our website, it kind of lists how to, excuse me, it lists the steps on how to create a campaign or ways to support students to do that. And in the process, while your students are working towards this can be this project can be used towards points towards certification if your school is currently going through the certification cycle. So this would be a really great page to look at. So you have food recovery and share tables. It would be a really great project for students to develop this kind of campaign where students are using share tables. Maybe they're campaigning for recycling and composting. Maybe they do a garden. Any of those things will work. So moving on to the part of the digital storytelling. So when we think about digital story, a lot of the students already know how to create videos with the TikTok and Instagram age. But when we think about effective digital storytelling, we want to make sure that students are connecting on an emotional level with people, events, and stories, and connections to their own lives. And making sure that the stories are really communicating the perception of the students and their perspective, and that they're really collaborating on the efforts of the characters. When I think character, obviously it's not a fictional story, but the students themselves are characters or people within the story. Who are they engaging with? Are they engaging with community members? Is there a way to kind of build on the personalities of the people in the group? And really just pointing, giving more of their point of view in an effective way. Okay, so here's the rubric where we judge the student. I don't like the word judge. It sounds it's kind of aggressive when we evaluate the students their videos. So we break it up into sections. So we first evaluate the video criteria. So what we are looking for is how the video is presenting the climate change and connection and support. That is a really critical thing that we are looking for, that the students are just presenting that they understand how their project connects to the causes or impacts of climate change, or whether it's mitigating or creating an adaptation. So the first component says that it accurately outlines the project so that we understand what the project is doing, and how it addresses the causes or impact of climate change, and is supported by credible sources. So sometimes we do get videos where students are talking about climate change and they're making claims or based off of research that is not exactly credible. So we just want to make sure that the science is correct, and we do look for that. It doesn't mean that they do need to cite sources, but we aren't requesting a bibliography either, because I think that's something that we're not really asking for at this time. The next thing that we're looking for is narrative and flow. So is the digital story creative? Is it organized? Is it easy to follow? Does it effectively engage the audience with a very clear purpose? So what we're looking for with that is, as we're watching the videos, like, do I understand what they're trying to do? What they're, does it jump around? Is it hard to kind of navigate what's actually happening? So thinking about like how stories should be told, we should think about, here's our issue. This is how we thought to address it. This is what we did to address it. Here are some issues we found along the way, and here's the resolutions that we came up to, right? That's kind of like the flow that we're looking for. And then we are asking for a written component. So we think about the project rationale. So we want students to be able to write very clearly what a summary of their project was and the connections that they were making to the causes and impact of climate change. And they're using credible sources. So whatever was being presented in the narrative of the video, we want that to match with the writing as well. And the last thing is just to look for student reflection. So how are students thoughtfully reflecting on their work? How their knowledge of climate change has deepened? Do they clearly identify the obstacles that they face and how they overcame them? And maybe if they would have done something differently if looking back. So these are all really great things that we would love for students to do. And the reality is that a lot of these skills that we're asking for students to do can be very they can be supported by the student learning standards, right? We think about having a claim, creating a narrative, supporting them, the details of their narrative. All those different things can be used as a summative assessment for maybe skills that are being taught, whether it's in English or science or even social studies, I would say, when you think about environmental and social justice. Okay. All right, so I wanted to show you two examples to kind of help you get a picture of like two of the past winners from the climate challenge. So the first one I'm going to show you is from our high school winners from Highland Park. Please let me know if you can hear it. I hope that you can. Are you able to hear it?
No.
No. Okay. 1 second. This is where I think. Let me unshare. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to share again because I think I have to hit some kind of audio thing with sharing. Share screen. Yes, found it. I am sharing the second screen. No, first screen. Got it. All right. How about now?
High school who are very passionate about climate justice in our community. Recently, climate studies have been emphasized in our school and many other schools across New Jersey. Although this is a good thing, it has caused many kids to be stressed about the future. When we came across this challenge, we immediately saw it as an opportunity to prove to ourselves and our peers that we can take control of the future and make a meaningful change.
While brainstorming solutions to climate-related issues, something that came up unexpectedly often was food waste. Food waste is a huge contributor to climate change that is barely ever talked about. Not only is wasted food a lost meal that someone experiencing food insecurity could have eaten, it also accounts for nearly 10% of greenhouse gas emissions globally.
And learning how huge of an impact food waste had on the environment, we knew we had to take action. We were intrigued to know how much food waste our community produced and eager to find a solution to this problem. The first thing that came to mind was composting.
Our school already had a compost bin and a garden in need of nutrient-rich soil, but people rarely ever composted. We started walking around during lunch with buckets and encouraging our peers to give us any compost they had. All of these scraps were then put in the compost bin so we will have fresh soil in time for gardening season.
Although starting up our school's composting program was a huge success, and we were amazed to see how much food waste would have otherwise gone into landfills, we wanted to do something bigger that would impact more of our community.
While doing research on food waste, we came across Sustainable Jersey's toolkit for food waste and saw the wasted food scale. This scale says that although compost is great, donating or upcycling any leftover food is the best and most sustainable way to eliminate waste.
But how are we going to collect enough leftover food to make an impact? At our town farmers market. Highland Park Farmers Market is a busy market that takes place every Friday, and the whole town enjoys the fresh produce and meals offered here.
We had the idea to donate food to the Global Grace Cafe. This cafe hires local refugee families to cook their national dishes for the community. The cafe is a pay-what-you-wish model, so if you can't afford a meal, you will still be provided with one, and all proceeds go to charitable causes. Climate change is a major cause of the global refugee crisis, so it's particularly gratifying that our project is both helping refugees and lowering greenhouse gas emissions.
We started showing up to the market every Friday about 10 minutes before closing. We walk around with the wagon and ask if any vendors have untouched food that they will not be able to sell later on or bring back with them.
The program grew quickly, and we started collecting so much we could not fit it all in one wagon. This project has been an inspiring experience for all of us. It has helped us understand we are not powerless, and positive futures are within our power.
Thanks for watching, and remember,
Don't waste, let others have a taste.
Awesome. So you guys were able to hear that, yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you have any questions about that video or anything in that project particular before I show the next one?
But no, the only thing I can say there is so that is the project, or this school the project was about recycling, about
And food waste.
and food waste. All right, and yeah, it's a really nice way presented the topic, because we did something before, but we just did it in the classroom. Yeah, this is really inspiring.
Yeah, and this
we
would be
can
a
use them.
yeah.
An example, a really nice example.
Right. And feel free to use these examples when you present it to your students. So this example is of a middle school, and they also focused on food waste. Obviously, there's other projects and other topics that you can focus on, but these are the two that really just talked about composting in the middle school we really liked. And the great thing about this class also is it is a inclusion class, right? So students with high needs, with special needs. I just realized it's on mute.
Environmental and personal. With our green team, we were really hoping for two types of climate change: environmental and personal. We have students here with very diverse abilities, and we wanted to find opportunities to build social relationships around a shared interest.
We decided to research how to start gardening. We were surprised to learn that food production is responsible for about 1/4 of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Most of it is due to fossil fuels that are used when producing and transporting synthetic fertilizers and pesticides.
Synthetic fertilizers are primarily based on nitrogen, which create nitrous oxide when they break down. Nitrous oxide is 300 times more potent than CO2 emissions, and these chemical fertilizers only feed the plants, not the soil. The production of synthetic pesticides is very energy intensive and can emit even more greenhouse gases than the fertilizers.
And everyone knows chemicals are not safe for kids. So we looked up how to grow an organic garden. Fresh organic food tastes better, and it is better for the environment. So now what? It turns out it all starts with healthy soil.
Soil is an ecosystem within an ecosystem. Healthy soil stores away CO2. It holds more water, helps plants thrive, and makes the land more resilient to climate change effects. It also contains many microorganisms, fungi, bacteria, minerals, and worms.
Love worms. I love watching the worms toil the soil.
Our soil is not so healthy, so we looked for some solutions. We learned that compost is a key ingredient to organic farming. Adding compost improves the soil's nutrients and releases them at a slow and steady pace.
Composting is the natural process of recycling organic matter, such as leaves and fruit scraps, into good fertilizer. This process provides an ideal environment for bacteria, fungi, and other decomposing organisms, such as worms and bugs.
We need more worms!
It also cuts down on food waste.
Speaking of food waste, did you know that the U.S. produces more than 80 million tons of food waste each year? That's more than 1/3 of all food produced. It is well over $400 billion in food wasted every year.
We could buy a lot of worms!
And worms are superheroes at making compost. They can break down food waste in 3 to 4 weeks. As the worms eat the garbage, they recycle nutrients, filter pollutants, and leave us worm casting.
That's worm poop.
Which contains lots of microbes, bacteria, fungi, and humic acid that helps plants absorb nutrients better.
So we set up our own worm farm. Worms also produce CO2, as do all living things, but the worm mucus helps release it back slowly into the natural carbon cycle. Moreover, when food waste gets transported to the landfill, we burn fossil fuels in the process. Even worse, in the landfill, the packed waste does not get oxygen. That's called anaerobic decomposition. So when the food waste breaks down, it actually produces methane gas as a byproduct. That stuff is 25 to 85 times more potent than CO2 emissions.
We collect the food waste in the cafeteria. I do my job every day. I feed the worms every day.
We collect the compost and add it to our soil when we plant the garden. We need to keep the worms moist, so when we water them, we drain the worm juice and use it to water our plants. We grow food that we love, and we work together to tend the garden, to plant and to harvest. My favorite thing is preparing and eating the food, but we also plant flowers, which makes our school more beautiful.
It is so fun to see different things grow, and our friendships are growing too. We can't wait to see this year's garden harvest. But in our green team, we harvest a lot more than food to eat.
There's a faster, easier.
So that was the middle school for Green Brook Middle School. And again, and I think this video was a great representation of understanding that all students can be involved in the solutions towards climate change. Do you guys have any questions about that video or before I move on? No?
No.
Okay, great. So before we move on, I wanted to send one more video, and you guys are probably all videoed out, but this was a great video of some students from Mass where they this was after ceremony, so they were reflecting on their project and what they did and why it was important to them. And this is something that I thought was really great to hear because we start to see that students are really thinking a little bit deeper about the work that they did and why it's important and how impactful it is for them.
My name is Patrick Watson. I'm from Manasquan and I go to Mast.
I'm Jeremy Londano. I'm from Howell and we go to Mast. Our project is Thriftwood, which is an in-school, on-campus thrift shop that we opened this past year.
We accepted donations from students and teachers alike and the community surrounding Mast. And so far it's been a great success. We've been donating all of our proceeds to save coastal wildlife and they've been very appreciative of the donations that we've made and the donations that the students at our school have made. Throughout the year, we've been doing projects on different sustainable efforts. And one of our classmates, Abby, many of her projects surrounded fast fashion and the issues surrounding the topic. And that's kind of where the idea stemmed from. And it's built into what it is today from kind of those projects.
All right. And so all the actions and decisions that we make, even now at a young age, have a lot of impacts for the future, some that we might have even realized. So when people go thrifting, even though they're doing it for just style, they might not realize the positive impacts that it has, and vice versa. The certain style choices and the certain shopping choices that they make in their everyday lives might have impacts and carbon emissions that they're not even aware of. So we thought it was important just to get ahead of that and just start making sustainable actions a habit instead of just an active choice.
At the end of the day, our generation is the ones inheriting the planet. So we need to make sure that we have a good start where when we're young people making an effort to keep the environment the way it is and even make it better. So I thought it was important for us young people to get involved in something like this.
So I just wanted to share that. And this might be something also really good to share with your students. So you can hear, students like to hear from students. Sometimes they don't want to hear teachers talk anymore, but this is a really great example of how these students felt like they made an impact, and something as simple as teaching about thrifting or upscaling clothing. So, that kind of goes with the lessons learned. We want to make sure that students are focusing on the connection to climate change, how they're reaching out to school and community resources, and they're completing a specific project with a tangible outcome. So sometimes when students make PSAs, while PSAs might be great, right? It's a public service announcement that talks about climate change. It's not really actionable. It might be a part of what they can do, right? So it might be one step towards a bigger project or campaign. right? So PSA, maybe they want to talk about the issues of climate change or fast fashion, and they create a video about that, and they present it to their school. The next step should be something like doing a clothing drive, or educating more about whether they go to younger grades to talk about fast fashion, or how it's better to donate your clothes instead of throwing them in the garbage, and what that means. And then just, making sure that the story that they're telling is real to them, and that it's personal to them, because those are the stories that make the most impact. So I wanted to also share some resources that we developed for teachers to work with their students. So this is a drive that will be shared, that is on our website. If you go to our website, this is our website about the climate challenge. If you scroll down, there's useful links. And here the links are the teacher registration form. So if you are going to register your class team, or several teams in your school, here's the form that you will be using. We have a quick start guide that students can look at. So it looks like this, right? Why get involved, how to get involved, what is the climate action project? So this is something that if you want to introduce it to your class, it's a quick version of everything that I'm going over today. Sorry, I just clicked out of it. I didn't mean to click out of it. So if you wanted to get to the climate challenge, you would go under events, and on the side, it would be the climate challenge form. So you also have the rubric, if you want to review it with your students, the official rules, and the photo release form, which everybody has to complete that's participating in the program. And on the bottom, which is what I'm gonna, in the submission form, but on the bottom is what I'm going through, which is your resources. So all those forms are also here. So these are the student consent form, the rubric, the quick start guide, and the climate challenge official rules. And here's also a team roster, which if you guys have several teams, you will have to have students, they have to submit this with their submission form, like who is in their team and the names of the students in their team. So these are all the forms that you would need for the submission requirements. If you go to the brainstorming sheets, we have project-based brainstorming sheets. We have resources for action-based project implementation. So we have a bunch of lists of organizations that maybe students can look into that might be able to pair with their projects. We also have education resources for teachers. So let's say if you wanted to introduce climate change as a lesson within your class to later support the project as a summative assessment, you are free to go to the Climate Education Hub, which has free lesson plans for all teachers on different grade levels, subject areas, and even standards. And some of them can also be New Jersey focused. So that's something that maybe you guys want to consider. And then they also have other educational resources from several departments. So, Audubon, Subject to Climate, Rutgers, a bunch of different things that teachers can use to support the brainstorming and project-based learning. And then for the digital story, this is something that's really important. Just really talking about how to make a digital story for students instead of just sending them out with like a camera, help them to organize. So this is a great graphic organizer that I put together to have students think about creating the narrative to their story. So brainstorming their ideas, then creating a story, writing a script, creating a storyboard, a shot list, filming it, then editing it, putting it together, and then you can share it. And this is the brainstorming sheet. So a lot of times I used to teach a digital digital media class when I was teaching back in the day. And something we talked about is having, a description of the scene and then a picture of what they want that shot to be. So when they're maybe when they're recording a scene of them maybe composting or digging up dirt, here is where they will write what's going to be said, the actual script, so that they can rehearse and that it's organized. So this might be something, a great planning project before they actually do the project, so that students can have an organized video. This resource tells you what digital storytelling is. It talks about like the story arc, the digital story process, the video requirements, and how it needs to be saved. And then it also gives you other examples of like great digital storytelling. Here is an example. This shouldn't be opening this way. I have to change it. And these are videos that maybe you can incorporate in your classroom from YouTube to talk about digital storytelling. These are previous final list videos that you can look at, and other Green Ninja videos to kind of give them ideas of how to create their stories better. And this one has video editing software that most students have access to. CapCut Pro, which is free. And even YouTube or Canva now has a video editing component to their program. WeVideo. So and even TikTok and Instagram can also edit videos for you. So these are all great resources if you wanted to present this all to your students before just sending them off to doing their recording. You have any questions so far?
No.
Okay, so that makes me feel I'm being very thorough. Okay, so I did go over this when we were talking about the resources, the New Jersey Climate Education Hub, where it has the different teacher resources and lesson plans that can help support maybe lessons before they take this project. But also some teachers, if they're not very comfortable with knowing about climate change education and how to implement that into the classroom, there is a great professional development like webinar that is it's not a webinar, it's more like a course. There's like 3 courses, but it's free. And it kind of takes you on from like people who don't know anything about climate change to kind of build you in understanding what is climate change and then how to implement it to the classroom and kind of like building your knowledge up on that. So they have a lot of great resources. And also we have a grant funding opportunity for schools that are registered in our program. Currently we have the PSNG Foundation that you can, if your school is eligible, you can get up to $2,000 or $10,000 grants that you can apply. You can apply for both, but you will only receive one. And it can go towards any projects that are connected with our program, whether it's actions or even just the climate challenge project that you are implementing. If you want to continue it, because you will receive the money for this project after you will after the program is completed. However, if it is on a continuous effort and you need more money to upkeep whatever project that you are doing, this is a great way to do that. Okay, so if you haven't yet, please register today. Again, it is at no cost. There is no obligation. Even if you register today and you don't submit a project, it's okay. But if you have any questions or any way that maybe we can brainstorm or any ideas that you have that maybe I can support you with, please let me know. So that concludes my presentation. Do you guys have any questions or any ideas that you have already?
We need a little bit time to register the students.
Okay.
Because they are the one who's gonna decide what they're gonna do.
Right.
So mostly in previous years, what we did, we gave them time to do the brainstorming about different topics, whatever the topic that comes up or whatever the issue, they look at it. And then they decide that they want, because sometimes they registered, but they don't pursue that project. So we have to look those people who are in our science classes are those people who are not in science classes are still available to, like, some are engaged in other activities like sports and all those other,
Right.
so they have enough time to give us. So we need one and a half week to figure out like who is interested and who really wants to
Right.
do it.
Right. I understand. So this is a club.
Oh, okay. All
No,
right.
I'm asking, is this a club or is this a classroom?
It used to be a club, but not anymore
Okay.
because there is no funding, and so they didn't put any club. But we're gonna do, me and Louis, we're gonna do on our own, whatever the time we can give. And we will, like, recruit a couple of students for our own classes, whoever is interested.
Right.
I can just give them time and, like, work with them and just support them. So
I mean, and the
see
team
how
only has to be 2 people. It doesn't have to be more than 2 people. It could range from 2 to 4. It just can't be a single individual student project.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so if you could get 2 kids that, want to do a campaign, whatever, one of the great things to think about is like, what are the issues within their community that they're kind of really thinking about, or that maybe that impact them all the time. Because that makes it relevant to them and probably makes them more passionate, right? What are things that they care about? And how is climate change going to affect that if they don't do something or get their community or student population involved? I'm not privy to the issues within Jersey City, but the students might know a little bit more about that. Or even
we will
you
see.
guys also have more of an understanding of the issues.
We used to have the club. So, when you have a club, the kids come, and we do not only for climate change, but for some other projects and some other experiments and labs we did with them. So through the process, they come up with some of the idea, and then we like your organization too. So we will see within 1-2 weeks what we comes up.
Right, and this is a good opportunity for students that are juniors or maybe sophomores or juniors that need community service hours. This can count for that, and this can be a great addition to their applications to show that they're doing projects like this. So that's a great way to push it. Or some students also do honor society, right? And they also need community service hours. And if they're doing this type of work, it can apply for community service hours. That's a great way to pitch it to help get students on board. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any more questions or anything I can help and assist with?
No, it was very informative, and I'm gonna look at the website and all those resources that me and Louis, we both gonna look at it and, like, share with the kids, and then we will go from there.
Okay, great. All right then. So thank you again for joining, and feel free to contact me. I'm gonna put my email in the chat. 1 second. And if you have any questions, or maybe you have a project that you're thinking about, or maybe you want extra assistance and maybe you want to have another little webinar, maybe we can talk to the students. I think it's really important, especially for, urban communities to be involved in this program because they're impacted the most. So, it would be really great to have you guys again.
And another question I have, on 18, you have the same?
It is the same thing, yeah. So if you wanted to bring your, but it's 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Yeah, I registered for both of them. I was thinking probably, I don't know which one I can. So I said,
fine.
Let's see.
That's
So
fine.
I'm gonna check with the kids if anybody wants interested, so I can share with them the link.
Yeah, for sure. Let them register, and after having a conversation with them, and then they're free to ask any questions, or get more of a picture of like what this project's about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Rosie. Thank you.
No problem. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.